Mr. Watts, he is armed himself. Shots. Shots. Watch it. Tear gas. Live rounds. Also, I can see that.
But since my cousin there, no, you come up the East Coast.
You listen to me.
Right? No, you come up to the East Coast.
You listen to me now.
You gotta listen to me too, man.
I am listening to
Right?
you.
Now, I see you on the East Coast. The day when they get a protest of them, the next day, that's when you see one bigger heads come up to talk to my family. Right? And that's bad. If we didn't do a protest, you want to see nobody for justice. You see? I'm not holding back nothing. I'm not holding back nothing. I just need justice for my family.
Good evening and welcome to today's edition of Politics 101 on a Tuesday evening. We have Dr. Henry Jeffrey here tonight, Future Notes, and we are going to be talking about the current political situation in Guyana. We wanted to open tonight with that clip, because we are responding. We are responding to some of the pundits who were predicting that the PPP will win the election with 6 to 7 seats, 8 seats, 9 seats, and that they will make inroads into the African Guyanese community. And, as I've been saying, that when the coalition was in office, they knock off 7,000 mostly Indian Guyanese sugar workers and closed 4 estates. And that was enough for Indo-Guyanese to say, Tata, we are going back to the PPP. Because they're rational. In an ethnic environment, they voted for the AFC. And the AFC went into coalition with the PNC. Indians are socialized not to like the PNC. And when that government knock off the sugar workers and close down their state, the PPP was able to say to them, look what these people do to you. And they went back. Whether they voted for the PPP or not, the fact of the matter is that they didn't vote for the coalition. That was enough because they're rational in an environment of ethnic division. But the pundits are telling us that after the PPP took away ITPADG money, licked down mostly black people houses in Moko and Hillfoot and Mackenzie, licked down their stores and their stands in front of the hospital and in front of Demico. Kill Orrin Boston, the police, kill Quinton Bacchus, Peter Headley, a young police constable, an Indian male spit in her face, a young African lawyer arrested because she instructed our client not to speak, the killing of the Henry boys, the treatment of the teachers, mainly African Guyanese teachers. After all of that, the pundits are telling us African Guyanese are going to vote for the PPP. I give the two because on the one hand, Indian Guyanese, 7,000 then get knocked off, closed down estate, they're gone. On the other hand, African Guyanese beating up discrimination, and we are told they will still vote for the PPP. So something has to be irrational about African Guyanese. But that is what we are hearing for punditry. Good evening, wherever you're joining us from. Welcome to today's edition of Politics 101. And we are going to continue to highlight some of the nonsense that passes for political punditry. You can't ignore the reality, our ethnic reality. And if you're doing that, it says to me that you got something up your sleeve.
Mr. Watts, he's armed himself shots. Shots, watch it, tear gas. Live rounds. Also, I can see that.
But since Mike wasn't there, no, you call.
So those images, when African Guyanese see those images, they will go and vote for the PPP. It doesn't matter. Last night, I was looking at the Freddie Kissoon show, and the gentleman on there, Dr. Tara Singh, who's a PPP sympathizer, he argues that the PPP is going to win the next election. He's not a lover of the PNC, doesn't like the opposition. And he was on the Freddie Kissoon show last night. And Freddie, of course, was trying to get his opinion about who's going to win the next election. And I want you all to listen to his response. Dr. Jeffrey never tires of reminding us that less than 30% of Guyanese actually believe that the 2020 elections were free and fair, despite all that is being said. And this was revealed through a poll by the International Republican Institute. But anyhow, listen to Dr. Tara Singh, who loves the PPP, thinks they're going to win the election, thinks that things are fine and the opposition is going to lose. Listen, take a listen.
Brand new buildings, schools, centers they build here. I mean, you can see the development take place in these Aberdeen communities that the PP is doing. I don't know why the people will ever turn away from them to go vote for another party who offer umbrellas and these things. So from that, I will say that the PPP, the AFC still have some strength in Georgetown area, Region 4. They will probably get, I will predict, 1 seat the most.
The AFC?
Yeah.
What do you think is likely to happen?
They had a good stronghold in Region 8, but not anymore. So they were hoping to make some inroads in Year 8, but they can't anymore. PP has taken the initiative, arrest that advantage from them a long time ago.
What do you think will be the PNC showing?
The PNC, as I said, I still believe that voting will be along race lines. as far as the Indo-Guyanese and Afro-Guyanese are concerned, and the PNC will not do bad. I can tell you they will do fairly well. And I think the margin between them and the PP may be around 2 or 3 seats, not more. Some people are saying the margin will be wide, but as I explained to you, the last election, although the PNC did badly in office 2015, 2020, they only lost by 1 seat. The PP won by just as 1%. And if you take that as any guide, if history is any guide, that tells you clearly, send a message that voting is still among these two groups along race lines. If they have a crossover, 1 or 2%, I would say that's great. Now, the local government election, the PP claimed they had a lot of crossover votes because they won. But you look at the Kingston constituency with Ubraj Narayan won. PP won that now. It's not so much crossover vote, it's more PP supporters come out and voted. The same thing happened like in other areas. In Linden, for example, they get a seat, but that was due to the Amerindian people come out and vote there. The only area where you have any significant crossover is really New Amsterdam constituency. Otherwise, most of the thing was increase in turnout of the PP in these areas. That's why they got, so I know Dr. Jack Davenport agreed with me. He has said they have massive turnover, but I don't think that the data will support that. In the 2022, the 2020 elections, I did an analysis, and I showed that, like in a region like West Coast Berbice, Anil Nandlal fight a case, the case where the government seized the land, President Granger seized the land, he had to fight them.
People,
about 20 of them. He won that case. I went back and looked at the tract, the voting. Not one of those people voted for the PPP. Not one of them. Now, I put as an example, and I cite 2 or 3 other tracts. Send it to Ghana Times. The editor called me. He said, listen, I can't publish this. I said, why? He said, well, that will put him in trouble. I said, why? But you want me to state something that is untrue then, and then you're going to publish it? So the article was never published. But I think the way how we got to go about, we got to come how.
But wouldn't the content of that article would not have opened up areas of reality for them to see, to act on? I mean, if you tell somebody, don't go, if you tell somebody, don't go into that street, take the other street because the man don't like purple people. You being advised not to walk into that street. So from what you told, you're gonna walk the other street.
Yeah, right.
So why wouldn't they want to see the thing, publish it, and Ben?
That's surprising, but I said the thing is, when I was a student in England,
that's a disappointment.
Well, there you have it. That's a PPP man speaking there. It's not a PNC man. This is a man who's predicting the PPP is going to win an election. But he's saying what some of us have always known, and some of us have said on this program, and Dr. Jeffrey has often rubbished that nonsense that, about crossover vote. And, Jeffrey always say, it will not cost the PPP 1 vote with the nonsense that they're doing. Dr. Jeffrey, good evening.
Hi, good evening, David, and good evening to your audience.
I am very sorry to introduce tonight's program with that clip, but I would like to get your take on it.
Well, it is quite clear, I mean, that Mr. Tar is saying, he said he went to the community and he did some work and this and that. But he has more or less, that is what our society is. It is. You can talk about, let me just switch, you can talk about oil, for instance, so much as you like. That we need to renegotiate, we need to do it. But it won't cost the PPP a vote. Essentially because we are locked into the framework of the other. There is fear of the other. Until we can have a system that will remove the fear of the other, that the other cannot do, that the other is working with us in a systemic way, not with the PPP trying to buy over votes. What you think happening in the police force? The PPP has ruined. They have ruined the public service with the moves they have made. In the sense, they are buying people. Literally saying, come with me and we're going to make you rich. The minute you start doing that, well, if I come with you, I better get very rich. And what I'm saying to you, that is not good for Guyana. What Guyana needs today is a proper citizen. By now, we should be getting people like you and the thing, and let's have a policy about citizenship. And what kind of citizenship? Those in Guyana, those abroad, the Caribbean and all that. But yes, this is not going to change simply because the PPP go and put up some buildings by robbing public servants. When the PPP came to office in 2020, the public service wages total bill was nearly 7%. By 2023, with more money, by the way, the PPP make it 3.1%. And then they move capital works, which was about, let me say, 14%. They move it to, it was about 14%. It was about 6%. They move it to 14%. Capital work was 6. They move it to 14. Public servants' wages was 7. They made it to 3. And they still expect public servants and many black people to vote for them. And what happens is, who do capital works? Who do capital works? Yes, you might wander around the villages and throw little patterns to the chaps and say this and that and that. But it's pittance. Who do capital work? You take it from their parents or their sister to throw it on them on the road and tell them clean canals? So it's not going to happen. Because, David, you will be on the platform. The last time an election comes, you have to be running around begging for the PNC. This time, yeah, you will have to be explaining all of this. Largely because Afro-Guyanese, in terms of politics, have always been more liberal throughout the Caribbean. This is not. You remember John Rex, Professor John Rex? He says that black people are not superiority races, they're defensively so. I know which one more dangerous. Because remember, I can perceive your racist and come after you because you are racist to me. I can do it. But he says that black people are essentially defensive races. They are not superiority. They don't look at superiority to say while a whole lot of religious and other things make other race things they're better than you. Black people's story is always, if you're better than me, let the race be even. Let the race be even. If we put it on a track, put the track right, feed me the same food, put me in the same race, and obviously you will win. And in any case, it is not, it's everybody that make a social contribution should be properly treated. It is not who is doctor and who is lawyer and who brighter and who ain't brighter. We all are making, I am the dust man. I'm cleaning the dust. All your garbage, if I don't work, you dead. So I deserve a proper remunerations. And the result is that I would have thought, and the PPP was sitting at the table. I said that in my thing. The PPP was sitting at the table when these people, I think it's the French raised this thing. They say every country in the world, we have enough resources in the world for everybody to go to sleep, have a place to rest and have nice food. Everybody, decent food. Nobody wants to survive on decent food. You want all sort of other things. So you will go to work. This nonsense that I hear even from the PNC and them that you're not going to go to work. It's nonsense. Today, we are locked in a situation that the only way out of it must be some kind of rapprochement, because they are not going to get no big vote. Norton alone of the PNC, because at that time they were having quarrels in the PNC. By next election, nobody is quarreling in the PNC. There is an election for national government. So everybody going to be on the streets. Norton alone stop them in the local government election. Norton, you remember this? So it's talking.
Yeah,
It's not gonna happen. And Tara Singh is right. Essentially, he give them a 1 or 2. Well, he's with them, so you better don't give them nothing.
right.
But yes. So I don't buy that. But I have a different problem. I have a problem. If you win by 1, it's not sufficient for you to have the power to do what they are doing.
Yeah. Dr. Jeffrey, you made 2 very important points here. You know, this little contracts that are given to these little black boys in Sophia and giving people to go and read and get them women going and clean trench. It's basically, as you said, you're not giving the teachers what they deserve. So you're taking the raise that you should give to the teachers and you're giving them to them girls and tell them, go clean trench. Give them little boy and say, look, a contract for $1 million. And I think that goes to the heart of the so-called con game that the PPP is playing. I think
Smoke and mirrors.
Go ahead.
Smoke and mirrors.
Smoke and mirrors, as you explained in your column 2 weeks ago. The other point that you make there is the way in which African Guyanese are socialized. Just give everybody a hearing. In 1969-70, they had the Ryler story in Linden. They sent for Burnham didn't go. They sent for Jagan go, and they give him a hearing. That mean they're going to vote for you. But they're open, quote unquote, liberal in that way. Persons like myself came into politics as a little boy, and PPP said they're, experiencing racism and the dictatorship of the PNC and so on. And we in a sense, embraced the Indian fight. We embraced the Indian fight, and in a sense, fight Burnham for them more than the PPP did in some regards. So there is a kind, you're right about that liberalness. And people then say, well, oh Lord, look, they're listening to Jack Dio. They're going to vote PPP. And kind of uses that simplistic analysis to explain African Guyanese sociological and political behavior. 2 very important points you made here tonight. Smokes and mirrors. You said that the PPP sudden embrace of cash transfer, they're going to give it to the family, then they take it away and say they're going to give it to the individuals, that many people are arguing that, look, the PPP is listening to Guyanese people. And so their giving of the cash transfer has to do with that listening and empathy with the people of Guyana. And you're arguing, no, smokes and mirrors. Explain to us, smoke and mirrors.
Largely because it's not the people says so, it's the PPP says so.
Right.
The PPP say, oh, we have been listening to the people. If the PPP is listening to people for anything, they, as I said in the article, I said they got more doctors around them now than ever. They got ones that are advisors. You mean that is what they're going to come up with? So the minute they do it, they got to change their mind. And they all sit there, nah, that's external forces. It's like the teachers. I said it to her, no, that's what they put out. This, first of all, they were told, look, you got to deal with this issue of poverty. Look, all the people are saying, all the Starbuck News thing that they've been doing, say, look, people are feeling a pinch, you got to do something. Oh, yeah. So they said they're going to give 200 million something, but then they craft it to suit themselves. So they're going to have a whole lot of red coat people running around the street like they did it the last time. And people realize that that's what they're doing. They say, look, do this the simplest way possible. The simplest way possible here is give everybody over 18 years something and do it through the banks. Don't make nobody got to go and walk all over the place. Encourage people to get bank account and give them the money through the bank. Now the people come with a lot of stuff. Oh, they didn't say overseas Guyanese before. Now they are trying to think back. Now they want to pay half the passage because they know they're going to run into this thing about new election lists and perhaps biometric. So they want to pay half the passage for the Guyanese to come home. So they say, we're going to get... And you just got to sit down and say, this got to be a joke. Because they want them to say, oh, come on for holidays and register. Of course, they got all of them, their things already. Oh, they have new got to. But I mean, it's a difference. They're the PNC. But the point is, they're saying, oh, we're going to Guyanese abroad. Yes, well, we're going to pay half your passage to come home for holidays. How are you going to think? And it's an encouragement. Even if it wasn't that, it's open to that because that is the nature of the situation in which we live. So,
that's the nature of the situation in which we live. Jeffrey, I like that. They pay half the passage for them to come home from New York so they can register. Because one of the unintended consequences, I'm reliably informed, is that a lot of young African Guyanese who are not registered are now flocking the GCOM place to register. GCOM was caught unaware, didn't have staff. So I have some people monitoring the Caldigen place that services the East Coast there, Buxton, Golden Grove, Nabacles, Bachelor Venture, etc. And he's telling me that on a given day, you have about 300, mostly young Black people who are going to register to get this $100,000. And so the PPP is countering that, but of course the Guyanese abroad thing, all Guyanese abroad, so that their people from Queens and Canada and so on can come home. And they have this T20 cricket story coming up.
Yeah.
But they're paying half their passage to come home. They're registered and so on. So this is a big election game that they are playing here, and they got us carrying on, as you said, smoke and mirrors. Here's a quote from that column, and I want your comment. The most a universal 100,000 one-off cash grant can do is help the poor with their immediate financial problems and give the well-off an unneeded bonus. What is truly sad is that by about 2010, the global powers thought that the world had reached a level of development that could ensure that everyone received the basic requirements of existence. In 2015, the United Nations adopted its 2016 to 2030 sustainable goals, and the PPP government was very much part of that lengthy process. Expand for us, especially the part with the meeting their immediate needs and not going beyond that.
But David, why do I need to explain that $100,000 could do a one-off? It ain't gonna do anything. Essentially, that is about what it will do, and it's the people's money. It should be more. So I am not part of people taking it. You gotta take it. Go get it. But it's pittance. What the PPP was part of, as I said before, I thought it was the French that began this thing. That's saying, hey, this world has enough resources today that every individual should have sufficient food and somewhere to sleep, some place a decent living. And therefore, every country, based on their own means, should have a floor between which nobody should go to bed. If that floor is whatsoever the cost is, the country, based on its resources. Now, it's a UBI. They say give a UBI, Universal Basic Income, every month, every week, according to your standard of, your nature of production. You would have thought that Guyana got resources, that the PPP, who was very much a part of that discourse that's been going on a long, long time, it ain't come there just like that. Because, you're going to have all sorts of views. When they said that everybody should have a basic floor, I would have thought the PPP, as you get money, I put my article, I said, you got money, start with the poorest people. And then they did say, research shows that if an oil country gives 10% to the ordinary poor person and you will lift people out of poverty enormously. But we are not doing that. We're coming off with all sorts of one-off grant and thing. Yes, you're going to have, everybody should take it. I certainly going to take it. The truth is, but that is not the answer. The answer is to have a program, not only of giving the resources, but to help people to get jobs and so on and so on, because that alone can't really get them, make them fulfill themselves. But not that the PPP. PPP is not interested in the citizens of Guyana. They are only interested in the citizens that vote for them. That is all they're interested in. They're not interested in the citizens of Guyana. If you were really interested in the citizens of Guyana with your wealth, you would do a Saudi Arabia and all those Arab countries already. You would define citizens in various levels. You would have said the first level of citizens we have are the people in Guyana, Guyanese in Guyana. The second level, I'm just saying, the second level are the Guyanese that are abroad that's associated with Guyana, so to speak, because you can have Guyanese just go this way. The third level, I said, is Caribbean community. We are part of CARICOM, and CARICOM have some rights. And you will do that kind of thing. And you will make you will give benefits according to that. And it cannot be easy for anybody to get a Guyanese citizenship. When you go in Saudi Arabia and the places, you ain't getting no citizenship overnight because you can vote for the PPP. The PPP is not interested in the citizens of Guyana. Period. They are interested to manipulate the citizens of Guyana to vote for them. Because even you had the former British ambassadors to come out and say, oh, my Lord, look, y'all got a border problem. You got all this oil. And you make Maduro taking away your people from you. By now, and you're in CARICOM, you should have already defined CARICOM as part of your citizenship at another level, not at the same level. So they ain't got no time to turn to Maduro. I mean, You mean you got somebody that come from abroad and tell you that, but the PPP has no interest in the citizens of Guyana. What they have is an interest in winning and winning their vote and buying them, and so you end up with what you are ending up with.
As you said in the concluding paragraph in your column, the PPP has no interest in a universal project of upliftment for, in Guyana, caustic ethnic context. To extend and hold its political support, it must keep other ethnic groups, since they are its main protagonists over whom it has no control, Africans, in relative poverty. So please, notwithstanding the propaganda, without some serious nudging, do not expect the PPP government to support or establish any process that will either identify the nature of existing inequality or lead to equitable development in Guyana. It is all smoke and mirrors. End of quote, Dr. Henry Jeffrey. You can see that column, go read it. It's on the Village Voice website. It's 2 Sundays ago. It's there. Smoke and Mirrors, also reproduced in the letter section of the Kaieteur News. We have to peel away some of these things, because they get us arguing and quarreling over whether it should be household or individual, blah 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 blah, when the subtext of all of this is electoral. What, as Professor Thomas asks, when you say Guyanese, whether they're home or abroad, who are 18 years and over, what else could you be talking about if not voters? So you are targeting a small piece to voters. You're not interested. We have pointed out on this program that they are a whole set of 16, 17-year-old young people with 2 children. They got their own family. Plenty of them. We have been talking about teenage pregnancy and children making children and all that stuff. It's a very important demographic. But that demographic is left out of this little handout because the PPP is not interested in them. They're interested in voters, as Dr. Jeffrey has pointed out. For those of you who are just joining us, we are talking it here tonight. Dr. Jeffrey walking us through this recent gimmick by the PPP, as he calls it, smoke and mirrors. Let me just play a little clip for those of you who are joining us, that a PPP man who is debunking this whole notion of crossover vote that the PPP tries to tell us about.
You get, I will predict 1 seat the most.
The AFC?
Yeah.
What do you think is likely to happen?
They had a good stronghold in Region 8, but not anymore. So they were hoping to make some inroads in Year 8, but they can't anymore. PP has taken the initiative, arrested that advantage from them a long time ago.
What do you think will be the PNC showing?
The PNC, as I said, I still believe that voting will be along race lines as far as the Indo-Guyanese and Afro-Guyanese are concerned. And the PNC will not do bad. I can tell you they will do fairly well. And I think the margin between them and the PP may be around 2 or 3 seats, not more. Some people are saying the margin will be wide, but as I explained to you, the last election, although the PNC did badly in office 2015, 2020, they only lost by 1 seat. The PP won by just as 1%. And if you take that as any guide, if history is any guide, that tells you clearly, send a message that voting is still among these 2 groups along race lines. If they have a crossover, 1 or 2%. I would say that is much. That's great. Now, the local government election, the PP claimed they had a lot of crossover votes because they won. But you look at the Kingston constituency with Ubraj Narayan won. PP won that now. It's not so much crossover vote, it's more PP supporters come out and voted. The same thing happened like in other areas. In Linden, for example, they get a seat, but that was due to the Amerindian people come out and vote there. The only area where you have any significant crossover is really New Amsterdam constituency. Otherwise, most of the thing was increase in turnout.
There you have it. That's a PPP man is talking there. You know, we have been saying on this program, you know, that thing about crossover vote in Linden, PPP, and they get us into that. We forgot that they get Amerindian people, and they also have some East Indians who live in Linden. As you go around the turn to go in Amelia Ward, there's a sizable East Indian community there. So they will have us believe that it's only black people in Linden. So when the PPP get a couple of votes in Linden, they say, well, you know, it's black people come over. When in fact, it's Indian people and Amerindian people who are voting for the PPP. Georgetown, the same thing. I mean, Aubrey Norton, as Dr. Jeffrey told us, single-handedly, without any big turnout on the part of opposition supporters, was able to prevent the PPP from seizing those constituencies. And so we have to be very careful with that propaganda about crossover vote, because when you peel away the skin and you get underneath, it's not no crossover vote. Tara Singh said there may just be a 1 or 2% crossover, and he's a PPP man. And he's saying the most you will get crossover is 1 or 2%. And so this thing that Aubrey Norton is not an attractive candidate and black people ain't gonna vote for the PNC because of Aubrey Norton. It's nonsense.
It's nonsense.
Nonsense. Dr. Jeffrey, your thoughts?
Yeah, it's nonsense. Well, you know my position. I mean, it's absolute nonsense. Let me coalesce around Norton and see if anybody gonna vote for you. After all, the core people decide they want Norton. Why am I fighting here? Why not let me coalesce around Norton and see what we can do? Why not all of us come out and say, Norton, what's happened to Norton? He do anything? I haven't seen he has done anything so wrong. Why? He's not middle class? Well, maybe that's our synergistic thing, because I just go bar and sit down and think, maybe there is it. He out there. But then they used to complain about Granger. You can't find him in the young people.
He just got to sleep early.
He would never go to Bamba Mali. You can't get here among the people. Now you got another story with Norton. So effectively, no. So far as I'm concerned, yes, I have my own problems with how the PPP PNC is going. But you have to, they have not shown me yet that they've coalesced around Norton and to work with him to do the best. Dr. Reed used to tell me a story. I used to work with Dr. Reed. So he comes, oh, we must do this. Well, you know me already. I said, Doc, that thing work a lot. And then he said, so we end up with a modus operandi. He says, we will have to work out a modus operandi because you have your opinion, I have my opinion. He says, I'm the boss. We agree on that. Yes. You will do what I want. If we can't agree on what to do, you do what I want for us. And if we fail in a reasonable time, then I am prepared to try your way. He says, my position, but you gotta work. Don't go undermining what we agree on to make your thing work. And you know, the most times, Dr. Reed, we say work. Might not take a little bit more time and all that thing. But I put everything into it to see this thing work, to try to let it work. Because if it works, that's the only thing. And most times, we come back thing. You can't just run around singing. And nobody has shown me that anybody has said, do that with Norton. I said, let me work with him. Norton is not dual and Endal and know everything. You got to work with him to say this, hey boss, this ain't going right. If it ain't going right, look. And if you might even quarrel internally, you're then a political party. So no, I think they need to sit down and have another game. And because, first of all, I think the next article I wrote, the game I think they're up to is nearly closed. So effectively, they got to come up with a project that allow both parties to be at the table. Tara Singh just tell you 1 and 2 seats. He said 1% for the PPP, but the PPP ain't even win by 1 seat.
That's right.
You know, they even won by 1 seat. So effectively, what you need, but why should we want to say Norton must come with the same sort of power that Jack Joe do to do the same nonsense that the PPP is doing? Shouldn't happen. You can't get 1 seat. People knocking the American system and saying the college vote, but the college vote is useful. The college, you think a one-man vote, you think just a force past the polls, one man vote more than, you know, the majoritarian system,
right.
So they allow American president to do it like with everybody. Well, no. The people who was drafting that was smart. They were saying, no, first of all, it wasn't totally, it was ethnic with them. It was regional in the sense, states saying, Rhode Island would say, what? We only got 1 million people, how much? California got 40, so California got drowned us. We want 2 senators for 1 million people. California only got 2 senators for its 40 million. So you give people check and balance. If we determine, I think in this program, we said that last, if we say we're going to come together with Barbados and become a country, you know, unite, you will tell the Barbadians that you want majority rule. They're going to tell you crazy. Is everything you going to win then? Everything. And in a sense, that's precisely what's happening in Guyana. We're only saying that we are a country, but we have 2 people. There's no internet, no public opinion. We got 2 people. It's like Barbados and Guyana. So you got to have some way of dealing with the rules that makes it so that you can't do things that is of total detriment to me. Suriname got those rules, and they are more ethnic, a multi-ethnic society than us, because nobody in that country got more than 27% of the vote. The Indians got it 27%, but when you add up all the blacks in the various categories, they put them must be got the same amount. But nobody can become president without you got 2/3 majority. So no president, when they talk about president, we are talking to President Santoki. You see what happened in Suriname the other day? A minister resigned because of Brunswick. Brunswick didn't tell him what he resigned. Brunswick is the prime minister. Brunswick didn't tell him to walk, but he know he ain't getting nowhere with foolishness. So anything that Brunswick disagree, I'm not saying he was doing foolishness, but I'm saying Brunswick might have been doing foolishness, but that's not the point. Brunswick is taking certain dim view of what he's doing, and Brunswick has that opportunity to know, and he resigned.
Dr. Jeffrey, talking about population size, you're hearing all kinds of things about the census that they're not publishing. You're hearing that the Indo-Guyanese population size has gone down to 36%. You're hearing that the African Guyanese population size remains steady at 29-30%. The mixed population shows a slight increase, and the Amerindian population show a slight increase, and that the PPP will have to do a lot of fiddling to have a natural majority as they used to get in the old days. What are you hearing about the census?
No, same. Well, you see, when you tell me you're hearing, I'm saying you know. You're in the know. You stop being in the hearing. I'm in the hearing. you know. No, but that isn't it. I mean, yes, the PPPs, the Indian supporters been moving out. It was 39%, 36%, not such a great move. But that's why the PPP totally control the Amerindians. The PPP undermine every Amerindian leader that you have ever had. The Amerindians in this country, they just had a 2-show or whatsoever conference. You see what went on there? They control it. They bring them in buses. They do this. They do that. They totally control them. So, and not without a whole lot of people outside there saying, Amerindians saying, but this is not right. This is not right. But they have been doing that for so long, like it become a sort of institutionalized. You had Hardy, he comes, next thing he gone. Now you are Schumann, he comes, next thing he gonna fly. So first of all, he colluded with the PPP and took the speakership, the deputy speakership. If he was really standing back, he should say, but that don't belong to me. He should have said to the PPP, look, we don't want to, we ain't involved. We come here to change Guyana politics. And therefore, the deputy speakership should go to the PNC. Yes, it is true. The PNC first start with this nonsense. But when we were at election, we said we're going to break this confusion that you all are doing. And therefore, we are not going to be part of any process of having a deputy speakership. You can keep it or give it to the PNC. Story done. We are not in it. But next thing you know, he's deputy speaker. And next thing you know, he's going to have a farm here, company, and God knows what else. And then that's it. Hardy, we used to call him, Janet used to call him Hartley. He hardly around and he's still ready to vote, even 2 seats. Yeah, already. Just you know, you got to teach children English.
In your column this week, you said, and I quote, a few weeks ago, I received a podcast in which a supporter of the PPP was calling upon what appeared to be his largely Indian Guyanese audience to support former President Donald Trump and the Republican Party at the upcoming elections in the USA. According to him, the Trump administration that ended in 2020 was responsible for protecting democracy during Guyana's national elections of that year. So a vote for Trump would ensure that democracy flourishes in Guyana. Then a few days ago, the national local radio carried an interview with a spokesperson of the Carter Center, who stated that she expected her organization to receive an invitation from the government to observe the 2025 elections in Guyana. Free and fair elections, she said, are essential to democratic legitimacy, and Guyana has a lot to do if its people are to properly benefit from its recently acquired wealth and effectively deal with its festering ethnic difficulty. On my assessment, the PPP's propagandists could not be very effective, for it could not have been lost on his audience that Mr. Trump has been found guilty of attempting to subvert democracy, the very democracy he swore to protect. Indeed, the propagandist was misleading his audience, as the oligarchs in the PPP favor Mr. Trump, not because of his passion for democracy, but the opposite is apparent affection for autocracy. Henry Jeffrey, you are a dialectician. Break it down for us.
No, but well, obviously, what happened, well, the person who wrote, who was doing that, was following the normal trend of the PPP in terms of misrepresenting the whole notion of democracy. His notion was to go to some Indian people in wherever, maybe New York, and tell them, you remember that big hurrah you had was Trump. Was Trump, or else we wouldn't have been in power today. I went further than that, but the point I was trying to make, but Trump is not a Democrat. Trump, everybody knows him. Well, if he's a Democrat, he's a minor Democrat himself. He himself said, "No, so he loved this one. He loved Kim Il Sung. He loved Putin. He loved all these autocrats." Now the PPP, that is what the PPP was. The PPP, now, this Biden administration put in massive pressure. All them teachers, things and things overturned because of them. This the grant come because of them. And anyway, not say that. But it come because of them. And therefore, they want an autocrat in office. But they prefer Trump. But they're misreading it also, because there are things in the U.S. Congress that are by partisanship. They work on them because the nature of the things are so long run. They can't bother with no election cycle. Election cycle is not thing. And you have to bring everybody together to hold on to this position. It happened in Northern Ireland. It's happening in Guyana. I said in 2008, then carry all the PNC people to Northern Ireland to say, look, this is how your country's got to be run. Rupert went for your side, I think. If it's that, yes, I think so. Your Trotman went for the other side.
Sheila Wonder was there.
Yeah. They said, this is how this thing got to run.
Granger was there.
Granger went.
Yes, Granger said that he and Trotman, on their way back, I think they were they had a wait in Nassau.
Yeah.
And they had a conversation. And when they won the election in 2020, he called Raphael and said, Raphael, this is Nassau. Because I think that's where they began to talk about it.
You see, maybe the conversation wasn't the one, had no relationship to do with the context on which they came. It was another conversation to do other things. Well, if that was not, well, the rest is history. Look where Granger is now. My contention is that this country is not going to move forward by putting Granger in the same position of Jagdew. You have to have some sort of thing like Suriname, some sort of consensus of how we're going to live together. You cannot put Granger in a position of Granger, or even Aubrey, because Aubrey might be a little bit more liberal, but the next thing you wake up a morning and you want to do your own thing because he got the power to do it. The British is now saying they want a written constitution. I was just gaffing it out with my friends at the bar. The British are now saying, we got to get a written country after the nonsense Boris Johnson did. We got to get a written constitution. We got to put some things down on paper that nobody can change. We need a written constitution, but we need a written constitution that is inclusive of all the races. The Amerindians are perhaps the poorest people in Ghana, but they are totally controlled by the PPP, and they have been so for a long time. Why they remain the poorest? Because if you're poor, the PPP can control. That's why they don't want any universal thing would give everybody a fair break to get rich and to be better, because then you become free. You're a free man. But that is why we come to society. That is why we came into society in the first place. We came into society because we want to make decisions about our own life in a democratic pieces. And not because some leader somewhere going to determine, oh, I'm going to build this bridge. We are building this bridge. But you alone building bridge. Who said you want bridge? And I do have other priorities. I put people in the office that you're not even talking to. And you come in, my manifesto, your manifesto is not 50% of the people that vote for your manifesto. They never read it. Must be less than 30%. Well, not less, 20% read your manifesto. And when a party wins, it only represents, or the votes you get only represents part of a country as a part. To get a country perspective, you go to parliament in the British linguistics, and you go to parliament and you sit down. The first vote, even the arrangement for laws are made like that. You have a first reading that just say what it have. You have a second reading that is essentially about the principle, and then you have a third reading where you sit down and the two of you try to come together with an outcome that would suit all of us. PPP, when you want to go to parliament, they want a majority of one, they just vote you up. The ministers don't even have to answer you. The speaker don't. This got to be a joke. But it's that you got to change it. And I don't want Norton necessarily to be in the position of Norton to be in our finale. Well, even Jagju. I want equity in Guyana. We must have equity. I thought that was you and your WPA and Walter that was what they were anchoring after at that time. Of course, you didn't know that Japan right the
communists.
Communists are telling you to carry you to the communist world, the whole Caribbean. And you know, people can't live with that. I mean, they can't even conceptual. They want to say it's a mistake. It's nothing wrong. The British and Americans get all of this. Yeah, you must get all of that. And that's why they could have said all them Caribbean leaders that you can't support Jacob. They got all of it, obviously. And they come around and tell people, you know, and they all just used to laugh. I said, no, that Jacob. Those people are the evidence because the publication come from a library in America, in it after 30 years.
Yes.
Or something. It's a library in America that showed that Chetty Jagan wrote to the Communist International, Czechoslovakia. They're all the same because and says we need help to take Guyana and the whole Caribbean into the Stalinist bloc. You think that the people even manufacture the border problem over there? It's not here. Border now it is the border problem, and you know the people that socialize under the PPP can't understand. They never knew. The PPP use race to keep the party together. Obviously, they got money, they think. But they use race to keep the party together. Boredom is terrible, boredom is evil, boredom is wicked, and all that sort of a thing. But yeah, what was keeping them out wasn't boredom, was the American. They didn't say, oh, this one meet me and apologize. Apologize for what? They must have, there's diplomacy. Yeah, I'm sorry about that, man.
Jeffrey, I want to get your take on this issue. There are some people who are speculating that the AFC is aiming not to join a coalition, opposition coalition, to fight the election, but to go by themselves and to create a minority government. Now, the AFC leadership has not said this. There's no way I have heard or seen Nigel Hughes or anybody in the top leadership said that that's what they're aiming for. But a lot of observers are speculating that they are not too keen on joining an all-opposition coalition to go into the election, but to go by themselves and to create a minority government. And they see the minority government as a route to democratization. Your thoughts?
Let them go now. The truth is that the AFC came at a time when Corbyn was at his lowest state, around 2006, now, something
Yes.
like 2004,
2005.
yeah, and therefore they win a lot of support in essentially from the PNC. That's a fact. They have never demonstrated any substantial vote. They're not winning any vote from the PPP, period, no. Because they sit right down with Granger and Enoch have 7,000 Indians. So they're done. PPP only got to raise that thing, banner of that, and they are finished where Indians are concerned. Now they got to hope to go to get vote from the Indians, from the black people. They ain't going to get enough from any Indians so far as I'm concerned. And Nigel, I like Nigel. Nigel is fine. I mean, indeed, some of the views I got is more in keeping with what Nigel got, but that's not the point. I've always said everyone is thing, and he's there. Nigel, maybe would run 1 or 2 middle class support, but that is about where you go. And the only people they will hurt is the PNC because of the nature of the plurality system that we have. I said that now. I said it 10 years ago, 20 years ago. When I was writing up my stuff, I said, that is it. Nothing has particularly changed. They are not going to win a single vote from the PPP.
You mean the PPP?
They're not winning.
Yeah.
They can't get it. And it's like maybe Tara sing just now. When I say a single, there's never a thing like a single.
Right.
You know, I mean, no substantial number of votes from the people. They're not going to get it. What are they offering? They're not telling us. Well, the people who doing this should tell you what they're offering, because I know what they're offering. So no, I don't buy it. The truth is, what I think that we have to sit down as Guyanese and get, as I end my article last week, get the elite in this country to understand that we need a different form of government. And they've been like this. They've been like this in almost all the countries. Look, you know, up to now, Reverend Ian Paisley, he's still not against the Good Friday Agreement. The other one of his ilk, the nationalist, he was the hierarchically in prison. So, but effectively, you have to get the powers that be that got power to do things, to try to work with these elites and get a different kind of system. If you see the kind of arrangement Northern Ireland had in the US, they had senators who are friends of Northern Ireland and so on. Well, you know, because a lot of them had Irish heritage. But we have people to Burke and all these chaps are out there. But they got to be pointed in a direction. The direction should be that we have a different kind of governance in Ghana. We need, these chaps are important. They are out there. They got listening. What are you going to propose? Just put back African, you're going to be better to Indians. Indians are not going to buy it. So effectively, you have to get Indians at the table. You got to have everybody got to be at the table to make decisions. And you have to get the people that you know in New York and like Burke and that lot to say, hey, boss, this is what happened. Show them what happened in Northern Ireland. Show them that Biden was a major mover in that thing, in the Good Friday Agreement with Clinton. You see all them come traveling. You see they come traveling here, think they come to talk about, it's not simple. You see, what's his name too, Tony Blair, you think they just come here to talk, you not know. But all of the people that was a major force down there end up here. That alone should tell. Blair, Clinton, all of them end up right here. And fortunately, the point person for Guyana in that thing was the Harris Kamala. When they go, they see that. So effectively, And they have a bipartisan approach to this thing. It's not about the Democrats gone and the thing gone and all of that. They got bipartisan approach to countries like that, or else it can't work. The influence can't work because one party come and change the policy, it wouldn't work. And so that is what we need to try to get our supporters on side, not to give Army the position or get down on the position or whatsoever, but to put everybody at the table, significant person. The Amerindians, because they've been hard done by in this place. The PPP has undermined them for years, decades, and still doing it. Yes. And they remain the poorest. PPP been in half in 23. How come they're still the poorest if they're so lovable?
Dr. Jeffrey, what do you make of the saga around Calvin Brutus?
You know, David, when you start buying people, the PPP has destroyed the police force single-handedly. Everybody, police was always get a little corruption here and there. When I was little and I go Barbies with my step uncle who used to be in Barbies, they would give you a little rice, a bag of rice and all that. There was always this corruption. Indeed, one day Henry Fraser, the commissioner, right? We already developed course together at PSC. So he give me a lift somewhere, so and he telling me about defensive driving and how to do defensive driving, how you do not to change gears and all that sort of thing. And we get into talk about politics and how police corrupt and all this. And he said to me, and the army not corrupt. And he said, Henry, police is as corrupt as the country they are in, you know. He said, put the army on the street, put them in police uniform on the street, and every day people passing them, and when they say you're wrong, they say, take this. Take this. Every day, a man get broke, and then a day you can take it, and he can take it. He said, I'm not denying that the police more corrupt than the army, but the army is in the barracks sleeping all day. He said sleeping, and that's what they were sleeping. They were sleeping all day. The police there on the street facing the barrage of offers to get out the thing. Yes, they're going to get more corrupt than the army. What? But that's not the part. What the PPP has now done, what the PPP has now done, is walking around buying people to support them. Hey, come and join me and you won't get this. Come and join me, you won't get that. Come and join me, you won't get. Well, I join you, I can't get. Story done. I mean, it's amazing. They have almost destroyed. It's almost the old public service because now you have the police that's supposed to be defending a lot of us, thinking that, well, I can do what? Like, how am I going to get 20 million? Go and tell a girl, say, this is for 20 million I'm buying it, and then got the money in his bank account. Please tell me. I'm not asking if you do wrong or right it wrong, but what I'm saying to you, what put in his mind that he can do it? What put it in his mind? How we get there? That I can get there and get rid of it. Why? Why he would even think so? So they destroyed it. The mere fact that you can get one in office thinking that tells me you destroy the police force. It's gone.
Destroy the police force. Dr. Henry Jeffrey, again, another Tuesday night, another round of analysis. As I said, you made a couple of profound points at the beginning of the program. The question of this giving mainly young Black women, look, $40,000 going clean trench, give them little bad boys at 1 million, 2 million, say, look, you get a big contractor to go and do roads. And in effect, what they're doing is that those monies that should have been going to the public servants, to the teachers, to the nurses, they're taking it and giving black people children to go and clean drain. So denying your teachers, denying your public school, denying your mother and your auntie to give you a small piece that they should get legally through wages, giving you that and telling you, look, I'm making you rich. Jeffrey, you didn't waste me money to send you to study. Thank you very much, my brother.
Thank you very much.
All right. And Dr. Henry Jeffrey here, always leaving us with something to think about. Because he ain't got no skin in the game. He giving his analysis. He's not like me. I a little bias to the opposition and so on. And you know, as a political activist, you know. But that is so true. They're taking monies from teachers, the money they should have given to teacher, the money they should have been given to nurses and government workers, and they're giving it as $40,000 to them little boy and little girl to say, go clean the end. The very fact that you all think, that they think, that all black people are worth is cleaning drain for $40,000 says a lot. It is the subtext. You all notice what's happening in the United States. So you all go out and vote, yeah? First it was black people eating dog and cat, the Haitians in Ohio. Now is Spanish people, Latinos. Puerto Rico is garbage. I am so glad. I am so glad that I have decided to join others and take up this cause of defending African people. I've taken a lot of blows to it. There's some sections in the media want nothing to do with me. Some comrades think that I shouldn't be talking about race. But if we disappear and stop talking about race, they kill black people in Guyana. What they don't want is when they're doing the racial stuff, for people to say frontally, that's racism, that's racial discrimination, that's racial prejudice. They don't like that. Racists do not like people talk about race. And I'm so glad that I have decided to use my activism in this phase to stand up for black people. Because in standing up for black people, we are preventing them from normalizing racial discrimination. Because that's what Mr. Trump and others are trying to do in America. To get America to normalize race. I'm going to give a joke, you know? Puerto Rico is garbage. You know? Normalizing racism. And they would like to do that in Guyana. But because some of us are standing up, and it takes a lot of courage to do it, because like I said, people, sometimes your own people say, man, David, man, you must ease up with the race thing. They're meeting you and complaining, or what the PPP doing is racism, but they're telling you, man, must ease up with it, and so on. I am not about to help them to normalize anti-black racism or any racism in Guyana. No, no. The minute you normalize racism and racial discrimination, you're dead. You're dead as a people. And that's why I'm saying, we black people, we got to change the game sometimes. All this talk about whether Aubrey Norton is capable of becoming presidential is nonsense. The other side not having that discourse. You all know that you won't even vote for Ali to be your prefect at school, much less to be president. And I'm saying that I know a lot of Indian people who have misgivings about Ali, but they vote for to be president. But we, over on our side, we got picked Norton apart. He this, he that, he said this and he said that. Just as they're doing to Kamala in America. Trump talking all kind of nonsense and that's Trump. But they're picking Harris apart. She didn't do this. She did do that. She this, she that. And advising our people in Guyana, you all stop it. Stop it. Because that's what they want us to do. To fight each other. Who bring what to the table and who didn't bring this to the table and who won't bring that to the table. We need 50% plus one of the vote to win. And you all know where I stand. When we don't win, that's not the end of it. Winning is a means to an end. The end has to be a country where all of us live comfortably. Amerindians, East Indians, Africans, it has to be. The PPP is not about to create that. It falls on us to do it. The first step is to win. And all that nonsense talk, we have to stop it. We have to stop it. We will lose the election if we lose it ourselves. I've said it long ago. My formula is simple. Work on your people and get them to the polls. Work on your people and get it. Stop this nonsense about crossover. Nobody am crossing over to you. But I don't mean nobody. But you're sacrificing maybe 5 seats, 6 seats on our side, meaning 30,000, 40,000 of our people don't vote. And instead of concentrating on getting them to come out and vote, we're going after 2,000, 5,000 crossover vote. It's craziness. The PPP is not doing that. The PPP is busy fortifying its base while giving us the impression that it's coming after African people. No, it is trying to weaken African people, trying to create doubts in the mind of African people, trying to make African people into hustlers, trying to make African people guilty while fortifying its base. So my formula is simple. I am not ashamed of African votes. If I get 5,000 votes and 4,900 is black people, I said, thank God for small mercy. I am not ashamed of African votes. And so therefore, we got to get those 30, 40,000 people, mainly young people on our side. They do us a little favor because a lot of our young people now are going and get registered. The cash transfer make them get registered, going and get registered. But the PPP will manipulate that. They will try to manipulate it. But we got to try to manipulate it in a way that is to get those young people to vote for us now. The register is to get them to vote. We're not going to win this election and no crossover vote. We're going to win this election by turning out our people. Ask Kamala Harris in America. It's a close election in America. She's going to win by turning out more of the Democratic base, in particular, African Americans. And we in Guyana are playing the fool. We're playing the fool. Not me. I am focused like a laser on getting African Guyanese out to vote. And that is why, for me, for us in the Working People's Alliance, coalition politics is the first step to a national politics. We have to get our people out. Indian Guyanese are being cordoned off. They're being put out of our reach. And we must put African people out of the reach of the PPP. And the way we do that is to talk to them and mobilize them and to say we are mobilizing you as Africans. Not some amorphous thing that called a voter. In a place like Guyana, you have African voters, Indian voters, Amerindian voters, Portuguese voters, etc. You got no voter, just a voter. And it's one of the mistakes that the opposition has been making. And that is not to recognize that its people, its support base as an identity. If I walking down the road and you're calling for John, me are looking wrong. The minute you said David, don't matter if it's 10 David there, all of we gonna look wrong. Identity matters. It matters. And we can't shy away from identity. All groups in Guyana experience alienation, experience oppression, suppression, all groups. But each group experiences differently because we are at different places in the political architecture. African people are experiencing oppression as teachers, as nurses, as public servants, as police, as soldiers. That's where they are. Indian people are experiencing alienation and oppression as sugar workers. Sugar workers are getting a little bit more than public servants and teachers. Sugar workers are told that you may not get as much as the elite, but you're getting more than them on the side. We can't give the other side more because they do not deserve more. What are they going to do with it? They don't have business sense, so they're not going to. They don't need any big money to open no business because black man can't do business. They're instant people. So give them a $40,000, they work for it this week, they spend them out, and then they come back and work next week. But you over there, you Indians, you may be poor, but you're not $40,000 people. You are $240,000 people. Because we think that when we give you all that money, you are going to go and open a cake shop. You are going to go and open a clothing shop. But if we give black man all them kind of money, they're going to go and drink them out. And some of our black leaders peddle that shit. That if you give poor people money, they're going to go and drink it out. PPP doesn't believe that Indian people will drink it out. They believe that African people will drink it out because some of our African leaders are saying that. So each group experiences underdevelopment differently. And so I gonna take the blows to defend black people as black people and to talk to black people as black people and to say, if you play yourself fools, Crapo will smoke your pipe forever. All them talk about whether Nigel or Arbery is the better candidate and all. We got to get off that nonsense now. We have had our time to chat about that for the last 2-3 months. We have to move on. We have to move on. If Norton, if the majority is saying that they want Norton, then that's it. Norton may not talk a certain way, he may not walk a certain way, he may not drink at a certain place. That don't disqualify you. It is not about Norton the individual. It's about the moment that we are in. And so all them loose talk that we are into, just get over it. All this $100,000 and so on, take out your money, do what you got to do with the $100,000. I'm sure that you're all not going to drink it out. You are going to take it and do what $100,000 can do a little, and then after that. But this is not about $100,000. This is not about the PPP giving you all anything. This is about the PPP trying to pull wool over your eyes. This is what it's about. The party that is most serious about cash transfer is my party. It is the party that is saying you deserve much more than 100,000. And we do the maths. We do the calculations. It is the party that said it must be done by law. Saw a letter by Brother UC Kwayana a couple of days ago reinforcing that. It must be done by law. It must be left to the WPA for distribute, or PNC or PPP. It must be done by law. You get a check like your old age pension and other things. It must be done by law. We are the most serious when it comes to cash transfer. It doesn't mean the other parties are not serious. Because we are not talking about handouts. We are talking about a universal basic income. For us, the cash transfer is not a handout, it's an income. If you're working, it is supplement what you're working for. If you're not working, it's to give you an income to begin with. So you all black people got to open your eyes and stop this nonsense about fighting against who's better leader and who's not the better leader. There are things Aubrey Norton can do well that I cannot do well. There are things that I can do well that Nigel cannot do well. There are things that I am probably in a better position to say and do that Norton can do, or Nigel Hughes can do. Nigel Hughes approaches race a little bit differently from me. And Aubrey approaches it a little bit different from the rest of us. I confront race straight on. Somebody has to do it. And I have decided to do it. I do it today so I don't have to do it tomorrow. I do it today so that I don't have to do it tomorrow. I highlight Black suffering today so that tomorrow I don't have to talk about Black suffering. I will talk about Black liberation. Nobody wants to talk about suffering all the time. But we talk about suffering today, highlight it, so that we can fight it, and tomorrow talk about Black liberation. And if Black people are liberated, and Indian people are liberated, and Amerindian people are liberated, we are on our way to being a liberated society. But don't ask me at this time to be talking in a vacuum. I try to talk to everybody and end up talking to nobody. I think the people who need the most talking to is Black people. They're the most oppressed by this government. They're the most confused by this government. And so they need a special talking to. And I've decided that's what I'm going to do. And in the past, we used to do it for nothing. This time, we are saying that we are in the electoral mix. And we ain't doing it for nothing. You all have to recognize each of us, each political party, for what it contributes to our liberation. And the first step to that liberation is the next election. It has to be a real election, a free and fair election. So our fight is on 2 feet to get a proper election. Because all those people you see coming home for the T20 cricket and for Christmas, as Jeffrey said, the government paying half the passage. Kevin said $800 to come home. The government is guaranteed you come home, you get $500 US. You only really paying $300 for your ticket. And you come home and you register. And you get 100. So they're paying overseas Guyanese $500 US to come home and register. That's what they are doing. That's what they're doing. And you all, black people in Brooklyn who never come home for a long time, you all better consider coming home and registering too. This election is critical. And the PPP is trying everything, every vote. And we have to be up with the game. Our side must not exclude. Our side must include. I just tell me PNC friends them, stop cussing Nigel. We know you all prefer Norton, but you all don't have to cuss Nigel in order to say Norton is your preference. We need Nigel. We need Aubrey. We need people like myself. We need all of us. Because we are up against a machine that is using the power of the state and the power of the money to crush us. And we cannot be a weak David. We are not going to tame this Goliath with a slingshot. We need something more than a slingshot. So yes, we are the David. They are the Goliath. But we're not a David with a slingshot. We have to be a stronger David. And together, we are stronger. I hope my AFC comrades are listening, because I get a sense over there that they may be subjecting themselves to some bad advice. And I'm saying that here tonight advisedly. As I said, I haven't ordered from Nigel, I haven't ordered from Patterson, I haven't ordered from Cathy. None of them has talked about this minority thing, but people around them are talking about it. A minority government with the PPP in charge is the same boop. We have to remove the PPP as a first step. We don't want no minority PPP government. Because PPP, whether they're minority or majority, they will behave the same damn way. What we need is to remove the PPP from office as a first step to creating a national solution and a national government. All this talk about renegotiating contract, Exxon is not going to give us one shit. If we go there, sit down as PPP, PNC, AFC, but if we go there, sit down as a national community, Exxon will be more inclined to at least raise up their head and realize these people are serious. But if some of you over there saying we fighting contract and we don't care what the PPP doing with the money they're getting, and the PPP drawing down billions of dollars and we calling it paltry, Exxon smiling. We've got to do it together. We are committed, and we have to commit ourselves to doing it together. Burnham dead and gone, Jagan dead and gone. They ain't coming back. They ain't coming back. And if they were to come back, I think they're sensible enough to recognize that times have changed. And we have to recognize the times have changed. You cannot want to turn Norton into Burnham. It's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. So we have our work cut out, sisters and brothers. I'll be back tomorrow night for another program of Politics 101. Stay well until I see you all tomorrow night.